Hello friends, welcome back to this session on social reforms. In our previous session, we had talked about meaning of reforms and had also studied some of the evident social evils and taboos that ushered in the spark of social reform. We are talking of the socio-cultural and religious environment that prevailed in 18th and 19th century. It was the era when India was under British rule. Though British did not take any deliberate efforts to improvise the socio-religious backwardness, yet exposure to European education and culture became the reason behind the social reforms. Friends, Christian missionaries in India had worked for social betterment, but effectiveness of their contribution was limited. It was the work of Rajaram Mohan Roy that brought radical change in many social aspects in India. He is known as maker of modern India. Today, we are going to talk on contribution of Rajaram Mohan Roy. Let us study some of the biographical details of Rajaram Mohan Roy. The heart-rending incident. Friends, sometimes some incidents in our life change the way we look at the society. Same thing happened in the life of Rajaram Mohan Roy. In the year 1812, his elder brother Jagmohan died and his wife Alka Manjari was expected to perform Sahagamana. That is, she was to be burned alive with the dead body of her husband. All arrangements were made for the cremation. All the relatives gathered. Alka Manjari was dressed like a bride with laced sari and kumkum on her forehead. Her hairs were uncombed and messy. Fear could be seen on her face. The corpse of Jagmohan was brought to the cremation ground. Rajaram Mohan Roy was observing the entire process with lot of anxiety. He begged his sister-in-law not to observe sati, but she was surrounded by relatives encouraging her to commit suicide, and they took objection on the behavior of Rajaram Mohan Roy. He could see fear in the eyes of her sister-in-law, who was reluctant to climb the pyre, but she was almost dragged to the pyre and it was set to fire. Rajaram Mohan Roy helplessly witnessed the entire barbarous ceremony and failed to understand the logic behind burning alive a widow of deceased husband. Crowd gathered at cremation ground consoled Roy, saying that all these rituals were performed as prescribed by Hindu religious books. He could not believe how any religion can prescribe such an unhuman act for a widow. He knew that by any means sati system cannot be a divine virtue, but it is a sin. On that day, he took a vow that he would find out truth behind sati system and would bring end to this malicious and irrational custom. Rajaram Mohan Roy, birth and childhood. It was an era of transition where the rule of Muslim emperors who had ruled India for 800 years was coming to an end, and British who had come to India as traders were gradually conquering kingdoms. India was filled with poverty and ignorance. Many Indians did not understand greatness of their religious and culture. The glorious tradition of Vedic times was like a mirror covered with dust. The society was suffering from evils such as child marriage, sati system, caste discrimination, untouchability, female infanticide, etc. It was at such a time when Rajaram Mohan Roy was born. He was born on 22nd May 1772, that is around 244 years ago, in a village named Radhanagar in the district of Murshidabad in Bengal. He was born in an orthodox zamindar Brahmin family who strictly followed all the duties set down by their religion. This is an incident showing religious inclination of Rajaram Mohan Roy. He was very much devoted to Lord Vishnu, and he would read Valmiki Ramayana daily. He would hold the idol of Lord Vishnu in his hand and not keep it down unless the Ramayana was fully read. Over the time, he realized that his mother too starved for the entire period. He did not find it right to trouble his mother for sake of his devotion. So, he ate food for his mother's sake. Later in his life, he strongly condemned idolatry, that is worshipping idols. Education of Rajaram Mohan Roy. As mentioned earlier, that the birth of Roy was in a transition phase of downfall of Muslim rulers and rise of British rule. Till that time, Persian was the language of the government. It was essential to learn Arabic or Persian in order to get employment in government jobs or correspond with government machinery. So, Rajaram Mohan Roy learned Arabic and Persian in his own village. At the age of 9, he was sent to Patna, to a then renowned center of Arabic and Persian learning. He was so receptive that he quickly acquired deep and extensive knowledge of the two languages, and he was given the title of Zabardast Maulvi. He studied the works of Sufi poets like Sadi and Hasif. After mastering Arabic and Persian literature from Madrasa in Patna, he was sent to Banaras at the age of 14 to learn Sanskrit and Hindu Vedas and Upanishads. Shortly, he became profound scholar of Sanskrit and of theological work written in it. At the age of 22, he learned English language. By the time he was of mature age, Roy knew Sanskrit, Persian, Arabic, English, Greek and Hebrew. Seeds of reforms. Rajaram Mohan Roy's profound knowledge of various languages, religion and philosophies gave him the vision of need for social reforms. Friends, let us study some of the incidents from his early life that shows his denial to accept conventions and traditions followed by Indian society. After studying philosophies of various religions, he realized that there are certain limitations in Hindu religion. It was the study of Quran that opened his eyes to the error of idol worship, and he became highly critical of idolatry and polytheism, that is attaching superiority and inferiority based on God worshipped. He could not understand why there was constant drift among those who worshipped Vishnu and those who worshipped Shiva. That is, there was a constant drift between Vaishnavites and Shivites. Hindu worshipped numerous gods and goddesses according to respective caste and creed. Roy was strongly against this polytheism. After finishing his studies in Patna and Banaras, he composed a manuscript condemning idolatry. This was unacceptable to Roy's fundamentalist Brahmin father Ramakanto Roy. This led to Roy's expulsion from his father's house. After leaving his father's house, he travelled far and wide in quest of true religious knowledge. In his quest for knowledge, he adopted Buddhism and travelled with Buddhist monks to Tibet. Over the time, he realized that Buddhism stressed on worship of teacher. Yet, he spent 2 to 3 years in Tibet, but he strongly criticized worshipping living Lama. It is said that his criticism irritated Lamas so much that they planned to kill him. However, he was saved by a kind-hearted woman and was asked to leave Tibet immediately. He then settled in Varanasi, where he devoted himself to the study of Sanskrit. In 1794, that is at the age of 22, he reconciled with his father and returned back to his home in Bengal. His extensive travelling during his early childhood and adolescent age exposed him to socio-cultural and religious environment prevalent during that period. This was the time when he came in touch with European culture. He found job in the East India Company, where he served for several years and became a revenue officer in 1809. During this period, he made his acquaintance with Europeans and made himself familiar with their laws and forms of government. He gained knowledge of European education system and sociological system and their philosophy. He studied the work of European sociologists and philosophers, in particular the work of Bacon and Bentham. He was profoundly interested in the history of French Revolution and the contemporary democratic movements initiated by middle class worldwide. Hence, we can say that knowledge of different religions, languages, cultures enriched the thought process of Rajaram Mohan Roy, which sowed the seeds of reforms. He had realized that reform needs holistic approach, and therefore, we find his contribution in the field of education, religion, social aspect, legislative matters, etc. Let us study these contributions one by one. Contribution in the field of educational reform. Rajaram Mohan Roy realized that in order to remove ignorance from Indian society, it is essential to introduce modern education. In India, most of the education was either in Sanskrit, Persian or Arabic. The subjects taught were related to religion, literature and art. Modern subjects such as history, geography, mathematics and science were not taught in these schools. Even the British East India Company opened Sanskrit schools. During his service with East India Company, he worked as assistant to Mr. John Digby, an English officer, for the year 1809 to 1814 at Rangpur. His close association with Mr. Digby and his job with East India Company helped Rajaram Mohan Roy to understand British culture. It is said that he used to regularly read newspaper received by Digby from England. He saw that the stock of knowledge was growing rapidly in Europe. He knew that the people and scholars of Europe felt about the idea of liberty, equality and democracy. He had studied French Revolution and realized how people's participation in revolution had freed them from monarchy. Digby used to have visitors from several foreign countries. Ram Mohan mixed with them freely and understood developments taking place in different parts of developed countries. He writes in his autobiography, "I gave up my prejudices against British people and became inclined to their favour, feeling persuaded that their rule, though a foreign yoke, would lead to more speedily and surely to the amelioration of the native inhabitants." Friends, what we understand from this quote is that Mohan Roy had understood that renaissance of Indian society is possible only if modern education is spread among the masses. Keeping this objective in his mind, he established the Hindu College at Calcutta in 1817 in collaboration with David Hare, which later came to be known as Presidency College. In 1822, Roy founded the Anglo-Hindu School, where, as the name suggests, monotheistic doctrines of Hindu religion were taught along with the modern Western curriculum. In 1830, he helped Reverend Alexander Duff in establishing General Assembly's institution, presently known as Scottish Church College. Roy provided venue for his college and also helped in getting first batch of students. He also set up the Vedanta College, offering courses as a synthesis of Western and Indian learning. He sent petitions to the government to adopt a wider system of public education in English. He also realized that education can reach to masses if it is spread through mother tongue. According to him, education in vernaculars will help for spreading new ideas. He compiled Bengali grammar and developed an easy and modern style of Bengali prose. Friends, it is needless to say that all these efforts of bringing in modern education to Indian society were funded by Rajaram Mohan Roy from his personal kitty. Now let us talk about his contribution in the field of social reform. Friends, in our previous session, we had discussed some of the glaring social evils that prevailed in 19th century. These were related to child marriage, sati system, female infanticide, caste discrimination, denial to education, etc. Rajaram Mohan Roy fought relentlessly against these social evils. He organized a movement against the inhuman custom of sati system. It is said that he used to personally visit cremation grounds and persuade people against sati system. He used to stand there with references from Vedas and Upanishads, proving that none of these books recommended killing or suicide of a widow of deceased husband. His earnest efforts against this system bore fruits in 1820, when the British governor William Bentinck passed a Bengal Sati Regulation Act banning the practice of sati system and making it a criminal offence. Friends, Roy had observed that Christians visited church every Sunday and listened to their discourses. He realized that due to watertight compartment of caste system, there was no single platform where people from different castes can come together and share their opinion. So, in 1814, he established the Atmiya Sabha in Calcutta, where there was freedom to express one's view on important socio-religious aspects. It was through this forum that the voice was raised for widow remarriage and right of Hindu women to inherit property of her family. Rajaram Mohan Roy founded the Brahmo Sabha in August 1828. It was later named Brahmo Samaj. The Samaj was committed to the worship and adoration of the eternal, unsearchable, immutable being who is the author and preserver of the universe, that is Brahma. Prayers, meditation and readings of the Upanishads were to be the forms of worship, and no graven image, statue or sculpture, carving, painting, picture, portrait, etc. were to be allowed in the Samaj buildings, thus underlining the Samaj's opposition for idolatry and meaningless rituals. The Samaj also tried to incorporate teachings of other religions and kept its emphasis on human dignity, opposition to idolatry and criticism of social evils such as sati. Roy did not want to establish a new religion. He only wanted to purify Hinduism of the evil practices which had crept into it. Lastly, let us talk on some other contributions. In those days, courts conducted trials by jury. Some persons were invited to attend the proceedings of the court. At the end, these persons gave the judges their opinion regarding the case. These men were called the jury. Indians were invited only to the lower courts, but Englishmen were invited to higher courts. Apart of this, there was caste discrimination. That is, when any Englishman was to be tried in court, Hindus and Muslims were not allowed in the panel of jury. Ram Mohan wrote to the government against this practice. He argued that it was an insult to Indians. Finally, the government ended this discrimination. It was the time when the number of newspapers was very small, and even those very few were in English. There was not a single newspaper in Indian language. It was Ram Mohan Roy who first published a newspaper in an Indian language. He believed that newspapers are a strong medium to bring about reforms. It is possible to make thousands of people understand many things in their own language. Atmiya Sabha used to publish a weekly called Vangal Gazette. Besides, Ram Mohan was himself bringing out a newspaper in Persian language called Miratul Akhbar, a mirror of news. and a Bengali weekly called Sambad Kumudi, the moon of intelligence. In those days, items of news and articles had to be approved by the government before being published. So, there was no freedom of the press. Ram Mohan protested against this control. He argued that newspapers should be free and that the truth should not be suppressed simply because the government did not like it. Newspapers should have the right to uphold the truth. It needed lot of courage to speak out like this 180 years ago, when India was under the British rule. The press secured freedom by the constant efforts of Ram Mohan. Roy in England. Friends, Ram Mohan had lived a rich life by all means. He was a great man who spent his money for social causes in his country. It is said that even foreigners borrowed money from him in times of need. The title Raja was given to him by the Mughal emperor. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the first educated Indian to travel to England. He went to England as an ambassador of the Mughal emperor Akbar II. Such a rich man was reduced in England to total dependence upon others, even for food. His health broke down. The main reason for his financial difficulties was that the firm in which he had invested his capital became insolvent. Out of ill feeling, some people filed a suit against Ram Mohan and his son, accusing them of misusing money. Ram Mohan had to spend money like water to prove that he was not guilty. Though he got justice, he lost his entire honor and status in England. Even the financial help from his son stopped. Moreover, one or two persons in England cheated him. He became worried, he fell ill and became bedridden. Some people who had respect for him looked after him in England. Reputed doctors treated him, but his health did not improve. Ram Mohan passed away on 27th of September 1833 at the age of 61 due to meningitis. Friends, this was the life sketch of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his contribution towards social welfare. We can say that he laid bedstone for formation of modern India, and we salute this father of modern India. Thank you.